Ollie in Virginia, then Matthew, Don, Peter, James, and others. Ollie, thanks for holding. You're on the air. Welcome.
Alex Jones, how are you?
Good.
Good. You sound a lot better than you did last week on Friday, man. You were pretty choked up, huh?
Yeah, well, when I start getting real with people or personal, then it gets very religious, because that's really where I'm at.
Absolutely, you're right, man. After I watched that video as well, I was pretty choked up as well. I had a bad weekend, actually, after I saw that. But,
well, you know what? The avoidance of legitimate suffering is the heart of evil, in my opinion. And we need, especially folks that support all these wars, are calling peace actions. Hillary being hailed, all the Democrats saying this is a great war. They should go watch the children of certain other cities, 40 to 50,000 of them, with their faces blown off, writhing around in pain. And you know, all these people that want me to go, you know, to Halloween events and things. I can't go to some Halloween haunted house and watch people with hatchets in their heads and stuff, because I think about real stuff. And it's not because I'm a wimp. It's because I live in the real world. I don't think violence is cute.
Absolutely. I'm on the same point, and, you know, I was going to make that point as well. Imagine if all the politicians, all the warmongers, imagine if everybody saw that video. It would be a completely different society by probably next week. And that's why I wanted to bring up the Iran issue. You know, I'm half Iranian, half American. You know, I was raised in a Christian upbringing for the most part. My dad's a Muslim. He lives in Iran. And I wanted to bring up this Iran issue. I know you've covered it a lot, but people still don't really see it. You know, I talk to people all the time. I do a lot of blogging on different topics just like you, and I'll link a lot of my articles to you because you get a lot of just awesome factoids on your website. But when people are still buying into this, you know, Iranians want to bomb Israel or whatever the media pushes, and Ahmadinejad said he wants to wipe Israel off the map, and it's just not the case. People just keep buying into it, even people in my own family. And it's hard to get across to them. They're generalizing an entire country, and they don't even realize it. And obviously, I'm pushing this because you see what happened in Iraq, you see what happened in Afghanistan, what's going on in Egypt and in Libya, and people are going to buy into this, and you're going to see more little girls and little boys like that on the internet. Nobody's going to talk about it in the news, but it's just sick that people can still buy into that crap. You got Bill O'Reilly misquoting things that the Iranian president Ahmadinejad is saying about wanting to wipe Israel off the map, and it's not the case. You know, I'll support Ahmadinejad by all means. I think he's kind of a twisted guy, but you can see what they're doing, obviously.
Well, he's getting in trouble right now for corruption probes. And look, everybody knows the president is, quote, allowed to run in Iran. He's basically selected before it ever happens. It's the Supreme Council. 6 years ago, they had very, soft-line folks that wanted to work with the West and truly build peaceful reactors, and they were double-crossed, so they put hardliners in. And I've seen different sociological numbers of 70 to 80% of the Persians don't like their hardline government. So, you know, the question is, Pakistan's got nukes, North Korea does. Why can't Iran, which, by the way, isn't even getting nukes right now, but as Ron Paul's pointed out, why have a new war with them? Because it becomes a political diversion, and Benjamin Netanyahu is in the Washington Times, his advisors saying he thinks it'll make him look like Churchill, even when his own advisors and the Mossad people that he, by the way, had kicked out are telling him, don't do it, because it is going to totally destabilize that whole region. Israel's going to get attacked from all sides, just as Pachenik was saying earlier here on the show last week or so, or 2 weeks ago now. It's a very, very bad idea. I appreciate your call. But knowing folks in Iran, I mean, is that an accurate number? What percentage of the people in Persia don't like what's going on?
Well, a majority of it. You got to realize that the majority of the population in Iran right now is under the age of 27. And it's a very young, very sophisticated population, and probably the most aware as far as political issues, even eugenic issues. You can talk to just about any Iranian, and they'll talk about these things just like you do every day on your show. And if you were to just go and talk to or ask questions to just random people on the streets of Tehran or Isfahan or Shiraz, just go talk to them and ask them what they think about the Western media saying that Iranians in general just hate Israel, hate Jews, or hate Christians, they'll laugh at you. It's the stupidest thing. And I'm talking about very peaceful populations, just the younger crowd. You know, my father, people his age, grew up in the Revolution times. You know, they have a little bit of a twisted view.
Yeah. We are here. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to continue with your phone calls, then get into 2.1 kids, stable population video / audio that is put out by an organization that's done the research on this subject. I've separately literally read dozens of books on population and confirmed these numbers for myself. You can just type into YouTube, 2.1 kids, stable populations. In fact, guys, will you just print me this with the pull down on it so I can actually plug the group? I've plugged them before, but I can't read the organization here. Thank you. And then they've got their website that goes over it all, because we're seeing all this demonization taking place against populations and people having children. And I wanted to go over some of those myths with all this hype of the seventh billionth person being born. And then we'll play the overpopulation, the making of a myth. We'll break that down as well. But first, we'll go to your calls. Then I'll get into Prince Charles has been offered a veto over 12 government bills since 2005. How does the royalty still have vetoes over laws in England if they don't have any power, like the tabloids tell us? Or how does the Queen of England 3 times in the last 3 years abolish Parliament in Canada because they wouldn't do what she wanted? Or in Australia? She owns more than half of Canada on record. This is probably the richest family in the world after the Dutch royal family. They're cousins. And as I covered last week, I always say they're German royalty. They're not even German. They're Transylvanian royalty. As the BBC and others reported, Prince Charles admits that he wants to save the Transylvanian Carpathian forest because he is the heir of Count Dracula. You cannot make it up. And of course they want to reduce world population by 80 to 90%. Of course they want to shut down our resources. He's 500 years later, he's the progeny of Count Dracula. Yeah, it's the overpopulationmyth.com group. And I want to get them on as guests. Just amazing research, because it dovetails with all the research I've done. It's very common sense research. You can do it for yourself. We're going to be doing some nightly news reports, breaking it down from our own research later in the week, but that's coming up after I go to some more of your calls. Who's been holding the longest here? Peter, and then Matthew, Don, James, and Rick, and others. By the way, I've got to finish watching the final videos that came in. I've pushed back the contest a while because we've bitten off more than we can chew, but I will finish up looking at the videos and choosing the winner, and we'll announce those sometime during the Money Bomb. We'll play first, second, and third place for the Alex Jones prediction videos here on air during the Money Bomb. So let's mark that down, Jaron. And we will get that in. So much of the time we just have producer meetings here live on air. So that is coming up. Let's go to your calls now. Enough of that. Let's talk to Matthew in California. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex. I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for waking me up. I've been a Megadeth fan, speaking of Dave Mustaine, for ever since I can remember. And it wasn't until his last album, Endgame, that I really started to wake up. And then I watched your movie, Endgame. And I took up the fight back in the early part of June here in 2011, because basically a light switched in my head. A light went off, and I have 2 kids, and 7 and 6-year-old, and both of them have been affected by vaccines. I see vaccines in the negative effects and everything about vaccines, and so that's how I first started. I got awake. But what I really wanted to tell you is, well, kind of lost my train of thought here for a second. But well, first of all, like I said, thank you for waking me up. I really appreciate everything that you do and everything that you do and the fight that you've undertaken for all of us. I know what I wanted to say now. I wanted to say, back to your first caller, Blue. She made a really good point. I made an order a few months ago from you guys, and I got a bunch of the bumper stickers. And ever since I got those bumper stickers, Alex, all I can tell you is that I've had more conversations with people about meaningful things than ever before.
Oh, that was a point I never make enough, because I'm not just saying this. All these people say they want to meet like-minded, awake people. You wear an Infowars.com shirt or a Ron Paul shirt, the shirts we sell, or an In the Fed shirt, or a Socialism is Stealing shirt where it shows the guy with the gun putting the gun to the head, taking the guy's money, and it says socialism. You will meet real Americans everywhere. You put an Infowars.com bumper sticker on your car, you will meet like-minded people. And it's weird. You might have a cop, you know, pull you over for speeding and let you off because you have the sticker. You might also have cops pull you over because of it. We've had both happen. But you'll really find out who people are and what side they're on with an InfoWars bumper sticker. I appreciate your call. It is incredible. I mean, when I wear my shirt out in public, liberty or death or In the Fed, I run into people who don't even know who I am. I also run into folks that obviously listen to the show or have watched it online. But I run into people that are like, oh, I like your shirt. You know, don't tread on me. What, are you in the Tea Party? And I'm like, yeah, we're the folks that started the Tea Party before the mainline Republicans tried to take it over. Let's go to Peter in Washington. Peter, you're on the air.
Hello, Alex. There's a couple of points I'd like to bring up. The first one is easy, and the other one is not so easy. The easy one is I'm inclined to agree with you about Mitt Romney. However, I would like to see Mr. Skousen try to make a defense of him if he will. Now, the second point is...
What, is Skousen? Joel Skousen likes him?
Well, he said, yeah, a little bit.
Well, I've heard him say Romney doesn't know what he's doing, and I don't agree with that. But, you know, Joel's a good guy. He speaks with authority. You know, I heard him one night on Coast to Coast say that I was incorrect about the Super Congress, but all these other people, Ron Paul and others, have said that he can't find it in the Constitution. This Super Congress is different. They've had to, you know, have Congress people like Boehner come out and say, look, they bring up the spending bill now. That's unconstitutional. The House can vote up or down on it. That's not how spending bills are supposed to operate. Yeah, I mean, that's unconstitutional in my view. And I've looked at other super committees. This one has taken even more power. But you know, I should get Joel on, maybe during the 24-hour broadcast or something, so we can discuss that.
Okay, now here's the hard point. About 10 or 15 years ago, at various times, I read some of the LaRouche material, and after reading it, I concluded that it could be a crypto-Jesuit operation. It's very anti-Protestant. It's various other things, dogmatic Platonism and anti-empirical and other things. I know probably other people have talked about it.
Well, I'll say this. I don't know about Jesuit operations or something in there. But, I mean, a lot of philosophy and systems have been charted by the Jesuits. The word propaganda came from the Jesuits. So you're right on that front. But I mean, as for LaRouche Group, you see, I have Democrats on, I have Republicans on, I have Naomi Wolf on, and I don't agree with her politics, to get her perspective. So just because I have a group on doesn't mean then I subscribe to everything they say or everything they believe. I mean, I've had Pat Buchanan on. Doesn't mean I agree with him on everything. I've had liberals on, conservatives on. I've had just, you name it, I've had them on. And so I had David the Rothschild on and attacked him for pushing carbon taxes. And people said, look, he got a Rothschild on. My gosh, he must, you know, be incredibly connected. No, he had a book coming out. And we called the publisher, greedy to get their person booked on 100 shows. We called the publicist. I don't want to tell people how to do a radio show, but people who don't work in radio just don't know this. You can get famous people on when they got a book out. And so are powerful people. And that's how we got Rothkopf on, the head of the Kissinger Group. He had Superclass out. He wanted to sell a bunch of it. We called and got him on. People are like, how did he get Rothkopf on? We dialed the telephone. That's how we did it. And he thought I was Alex S. Jones, though. But by the first break, he was like, oh, yeah, I thought you were Alex S. Jones. Well, I'll finish the interview. So the point is that I don't agree with a lot of the solutions of things that Lyndon LaRouche pushes. His analysis of the Anglo-American banking establishment and things like that, I think is, look, I read stuff they wrote 20 years ago, I started reading it 16 years ago or so after I'd already kind of woken up and I was really searching, that later I separately discovered to be true in original research. So I think they've got some of the best research out there.